Welcome to the presentation of the first module of the MOOC on sustainable textile and the Unit 1.3, Regulations, Applications, and Recommendations, of which has been prepared by Creative Thinking Development. In this unit, we will go through sustainable textile materials and their environmental advantages, sustainable practices in the textile industry, reuse and recycling, circular economy and recycling, applications in other sectors, the Circular Economy Action Plan, the EU Strategy for Sustainable and Circular Textiles, Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, the Waste Framework Directive, the REACH Regulation and Recommendations. Sustainable textile materials. The use of sustainable materials offers a series of environmental and social advantages, contributing to more responsible production and consumption patterns. Sustainable materials reduce impact on the environment throughout their life cycle, including sourcing, production, use, and disposal. The use of sustainable materials helps lower the industry's carbon footprint, reduce water consumption, and limit harmful waste and chemicals. There are some key categories that help identify the sustainable textile materials. These are: first category are the natural fibers like organic cotton, bamboo, hemp, wool, and alpaca. Second category are the recycled materials such as recycled polyester, nylon, and cotton. And a third category are the bio-based materials such as algae fabrics, leather, that is coated fabric from pineapple, mushroom leather from mycelium, seaweed, and algae fabrics. There are also other practices that contribute to sustainability of the textile sector besides sustainable materials, such as waterless dyeing that uses supercritical CO2 or digital printing, dramatically reduce water usage, and eliminate the need for harmful chemicals. Eco-friendly dyes and finishings, closed-loop systems, where the chemicals that are used are recovered and reused, reducing environmental contamination. Zero-waste design, where zero-waste principles are adopted to create garments or textiles that produce no waste by optimizing the pattern-making process. Circular economy practices as design for durability, recycling and upcycling, and certifications and standards. Reuse and recycling. Reuse is a way to minimize waste and to extend the life of clothing. Forms of reuse include upcycling and repurposing, repairing, swapping and sharing, and donating. Recycling breaks down garments and fibers or materials which are reused for new products. There is the mechanical recycling, which is a common method for recycling natural fibers like cotton, and chemical recycling that is used mainly for synthetic fibers like polyester. Polymers are broken down into their chemical components, which can then be reconstructed into new fibers. Another method of recycling is downcycling, where textiles are turned into lower-value products, like insulation materials, carpet padding, or even cleaning rags. Circular economy and recycling. Circular economy aims to change from the linear economy to more sustainable approaches, focused on four major components of the textile system, which are materials. Raw materials should be made renewable or easily recyclable, with little or no concerns to the environment. Production. Production is designed to be energy efficient with the use of renewable energy to run production machinery. Usage. In this stage, the focus is on the promotion of modern designs with anti-soiling effects that need less washing, thus saving water, greenhouse gases emissions, and fibers dyes, coming from the cleaning process to the water stream. After usage, the focus is to facilitate the collection, sorting, recycling, and reprocessing through incorporating technologies such as radio frequency identification. Applications in other industries. Textiles are also used in the automotive, medical, and construction industries, opening doors for environmentally responsible innovation in these sectors. Textiles for construction, such as geotextiles, which are made from recycled fibers, are environmentally friendly textiles, contributing to soil stabilization and erosion prevention. Recycled and bio-based textiles are also used in the automobile industry for interior design of the cars. Medical textiles as gowns, aprons, face masks, and blue wrap are among the top 6 items from synthetic materials used in healthcare and account for up to 10% of total hospital plastic waste. Switching to reusable gowns, aprons, and drapes reduces the production of single-use plastics and minimizes waste. Circular Economy Action Plan. The EU Circular Economy Action Plan, which was adopted in March 2022, is the main component of the European Green Deal. It aims to reduce pressure on natural resources and to create sustainable growth and jobs. It is also a means to achieve the EU's 2050 climate neutrality target and to halt biodiversity loss. In 2023, the Commission revised the 2018 Circular Economy Monitoring Framework with new indicators on material footprint and resource productivity as a way to monitor material efficiency, and on consumption footprint as a way to monitor if EU consumption fits within planetary boundaries. The EU Strategy for Sustainable and Circular Textiles aims to create a greener, more competitive textile sector that is more resistant to global shocks. Its vision for textiles is that by 2030, all textile products placed on the EU market are durable, repairable, and recyclable, are made of recycled fibers, free of hazardous substances, produced in respect of social rights and the environment. Another vision of the EU strategy is that consumers should benefit longer from high-quality, affordable textiles. For that vision, EU is using the slogan, "Fast fashion is out of fashion." Another aim is that reuse and repair services are profitable and widely available. Finally, the textiles sector should be competitive, resilient, and innovative, which means that producers should take responsibility for their products along the value chain. Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, ESPR, that came into force in July 2024, is the Commission's approach to have more environmentally sustainable and circular products. It aims to significantly improve the sustainability of products placed on the EU market by improving their circularity, their energy performance, their recyclability, and durability. It replaces the Eco-Design Directive and establishes a framework for setting eco-design requirements on specific product groups. Additionally, it extends the Eco-Design Directive in two ways. First, by extending its scope to cover all physical products, while the Eco-Design Directive applied only to energy-related products, and secondly, by reinforcing the range of eco-design requirements that can be set for products. Waste Framework Directive. The Waste Framework Directive sets targets for textile recycling and waste reduction across EU member states, encouraging more sustainable waste management practices. It lays down basic waste management principles. It requires that waste be managed without endangering human health and harming the environment, without risk to water, air, soil, plants, or animals, without causing a nuisance through noise or odors, and without adversely affecting the countryside or places of special interest. The European Commission has proposed a targeted amendment to the Waste Framework Directive with a focus on textiles waste. The proposal aims to bring about a more circular and sustainable management of textile waste, in line with the vision of the EU Strategy for Sustainable and Circular Textiles. Member states are required to set up separate collection of textiles by 1 January 2025. This requires significant investments to build infrastructure and to develop new technological solutions. The Commission is proposing to introduce mandatory and harmonized extended producer responsibility (EPR) schemes for textiles in all EU member states that requires producers to take responsibility for the entire life cycle of their products. The REACH regulation entered into force in 2007, and since then has evolved to reflect the advancement of knowledge regarding various chemicals and their properties. This is the main EU law to protect human health and the environment from the risks that can be posed by chemicals. The main objectives of the REACH regulation are to ensure a high level of protection of human health and the environment against harmful substances. Other objectives are to assess the safety of chemical substances used in the EU, to promote innovation and competitiveness, and finally, to promote alternative, non-animal methods for the assessment of the hazards of substances. The transition to sustainable textiles requires numerous changes and improvements. Product design is a critical factor in a business sustainability strategy. Over 80% of all product-related climate impacts are determined throughout the design stage of a product. Selection of processes with low energy consumption, the extension of the lifetime of products, minimization of non-renewable energy consumption, protection and conservation of water are some of the aspects that should be addressed at this stage. Minimization of the environmental impact of raw materials by selecting materials that can be recycled or broken down, or by choosing environmentally friendly sourced natural materials, is a crucial factor that should be taken into consideration during product design. Change of business models. A sustainable business model is a framework that enables organizations to create, deliver, and capture value while addressing sustainability challenges to achieve both environmental and economic goals. Policies and regulations. The EU has already issued a series of policies and regulations to tackle sustainable development. Changes in consumption patterns that involve changes in the consumer's purchasing behaviors, changes in merchandising by using more sustainable practices for display, pricing, and packaging of products, changes in disposal and recycling by minimizing disposal and implementing recycling. Changes is distribution, for example, by implementing logistics with a low environmental and social impact, from storage, order processing and picking, packaging, optimization of transport infrastructure, and green marketing. Changes in production by implementing processes with the lowest possible impact on the environment. And, finally, improvement of working conditions, focusing also in the well-being and rights of people and communities. To achieve sustainability, collaboration between industry and market actors who share common values is a crucial step. The industry needs to avoid production of waste as much as possible, invest in pollution control, and implement textile recycling and upcycling technologies. Digital tools and technologies should be explored and adopted, and surplus production should be avoided. The adoption of tools such as the Digital Product Passport will ensure the transparency of the supply chain and will provide information to the consumers necessary for their purchasing decisions. The industry should put in place new pricing systems that take into account the environmental impact. Finally, to address the social aspect of sustainability, the sector must take measures to improve working conditions and invest in local production and communities. Sustainability cannot be reached without the active participation of consumers, the final users of textile products. In order to change their consumption practices, consumers need to be trained mainly through systematic awareness campaigns that will turn them towards developing more conscious and slower consumption behaviors. The campaigns should also focus on the extension of the time of products' use, for example, through repair or repurpose. Additionally, the adoption and promotion by the industry of eco-labels can help consumers to identify quickly and easily products that meet specific environmental or sustainability performance criteria. The participation of policymakers in the efforts towards sustainability is, of course, absolutely necessary. Regulatory measures are necessary because they set the framework and the responsibilities of the sector actors. The transition to sustainability is costly. Therefore, economic support has to be provided for small and medium-sized enterprises. Green taxation, meaning taxes on energy, transport, pollution, and resources, can enhance efforts to reduce negative environmental effects. Support of public-private partnerships can play a vital role in driving progress, for example in textile recycling, by exploiting the complementary strengths of both sectors. Governments offer regulatory frameworks and stability, but may lack agility, while private companies contribute to innovation, but often encounter barriers such as funding constraints and compliance issues. By working together, public-private partnerships can enable a more dynamic, resilient, and scalable approach to achieving sustainable outcomes. Collaboration between industry players and academia is essential, as research and education can provide solutions to the problems and needs of the industry, and, vice versa, industry needs can shape research and educational programs. Financial measures and incentives by the government can motivate industry to take steps towards sustainability, and also, public organizations, chambers, and associations can help in establishing networks connections and offer training to stakeholders. Finally, regarding research and training organizations, as previously mentioned, their cooperation with industry and market actors is pivotal for the development of the sector through targeted research and through exploration and provision of innovative solutions, while their role in the capacity building and training of business workforce is of great importance. Thank you for your attention.